You can actually hear the air leaking in. So anyway, that's not what I'm dealing with at the moment today. We're gonna check out this line that runs to the back. Now I think this is a pressure line, but I actually think that the one that popped on me is a return. It's a much softer rubber, and I can almost squeeze it. Like, I can actually compress it just by leaning onto it. Now that tells me that it might not be hydraulic to the same extent of the other shirts carrying hydraulic fluid, but I suspect that it's a low pressure, well, I should say lower pressure return line. So with that in mind, because this is very I can manipulate this one very easily here. Feels like, yeah, I just blew the liner right out of it. I can get underneath and I should be able to undo that joint down at the bottom, and pending I can remove this one. I've already kind of tried to give it a spin, and it's really tight, or it's stuck or something. So we'll mess with that in a few, but I might as well do the crappy one first and kind of crawl underneath, because that's never fun. So I can get that out of the way and then figure out what we're gonna do with the rest of this line. If I can't get this off, I might have to, I don't know if I can cut and splice it. It's not the best option, but we'll see what we can come up with here. All right, here we are crawling underneath the machine, and this is that line that comes around. It's got a clamp, and then it rolls up into the rear valve body. Sorry for the sunlight there. It rolls into the rear valve body that operates all the rear bucket controls. So this is the valve pack down at the bottom here. Jeez, that line is killer. And this is our line. So it feels like it's a return, and I'm only saying that because it's not a tight fixed line. It's a much softer feeling rubber, so I think it might just have a fancy crimped end. I will try to take both ends off, and if I can successfully do that, I'll just have another one made, something comparable. It won't have to be a high pressure, or as high pressure, I suppose, but we'll see in a minute. So I'm gonna find out if I can open up any of the nuts here. Hopefully I can. And I also hope that you guys can actually see what I'm doing while I'm trying to do it, because there's really nowhere, let's say nowhere safe to put this camera down here, because everything's on the ground or underneath the hydraulics. Kind of try right there just for sake of trying. That's just a slip right there. Yeah, so I have to break the joint between probably this nut and this nut here. Good news so far. I got the bolt underneath the machine loose. It was stuck, let's say. And then the other end of the line that's at the top of the machine here, near the console, I had my whole body weight into it. I'm probably gonna be hurting a bit tomorrow, but I managed to crack that one loose too. So hopefully I'll be able to take the rest of it out. Now I just have to remove this clamp way back inside here. I can't reach. Maybe this arm will have a better chance. Just cannot get there. Cool. That's the right size ratchets, or the right size sockets. Lucky guess. Alright, so I'm gonna take that strap off. I've got this guy, like I said, broken free finally. This was a really hard one. But it spins the whole line. I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a swivel here, but it's just stuck, or if it's just a straight junk. But I'll take the line, I'll lay it out here so it can flop on the ground if necessary. But let's get that little strap out of there first. Line's off. All right, so there's the hobo and the other fitting under the back of the machine. And there's my blown out hose, which is just I think it's just a return line, because it's definitely not reinforced in any way, but the fibers inside are all decayed, and it's probably not a bad idea to just replace it. I'll take it in and I'll ask them if they have something comparable to that, because I do believe it's just a low pressure return, because I think the high pressure feed line is this fella right here. That would certainly make sense to me. I mean, it's got some splits and cracks on the bottom of it too, but if it hasn't blown out yet, it's probably not required to be replaced just quite now. And that coolant leak, still hear it making a bit of noise. That's something I'll have to address. The radiator's pretty wet down there too. Okay. Well, it is a 51-year-old machine. So, 1969. But it sure can work, considering how old it is, and you know, it's had a hard life. I can only imagine being a backhoe. It certainly got used. But man, it digs like it's not trying, it just goes. It's impressive. So soon enough I'll get to start burying some concrete and we'll be on the right track here. Well, we're back now. Exciting news. Brand new hose. And this one has a bonus feature. It's actually got a swivel, so that means it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier to reinstall. First thing, I'm going to fight the clamp back onto that hose and prep it. Then I'll get underneath the backhoe, hook up that hard to reach line first. We'll snake it back through and do our thing. We're not even combating the sun today. What a treat. And we're not freezing. We're not getting snowed on. I mean, there's a virus going around that's out to get you, but outside of that, I see we're doing all right. And while I was out today getting this line, I also managed to pick up a second adjustable wrench. A big adjustable wrench, because initially I only had this fella, who's been great, but you run out of a bit of ability with some of these larger fasteners when you've only got one wrench to work with. Kind of silly, but was overdue. And I mean, it was 14 bucks. Princess Auto. Can't really complain. For the amount that I'm going to use it, I'll get $15 out of her for sure. It's a shiny hammer for 15 bucks. Know what I'm saying? All right, let's snake this fella in where it belongs. I have to put two hands on it to do this trick. are certainly tight now. So I gotta tighten up that clamp in the back end. All right, that's all back together. So the next step is going to be to top up the fluid. I've got an open bottle in the barn, and this is my fill. This is where the tank is actually built into the machine, is right here. So I'm going to take this cap off, and I will go get my open pail of fluid, and we'll see how far it gets us here. See how much we lost anyways. This thing drips all the time, so okay. Probably 3 inches down in there. It certainly won't hurt to fill it up, especially because there's air in the system now. So I'll go get that pail and we'll get her topped up. We are just below the neck here, so I think that's going to be close until I cycle it a few times and get the rest of the air kind of bled out of the system. So I'm going to run it, and then we're going to use it. And then once I park it again, I'll have to top it up next time I take it out, and that'll probably be good enough. So. All right. So we'll give her a quick little hit again. It's usually enough. We're in neutral. Watch the oil pressure. All right. That's a pretty good cold pressure. Now we get to work. All right, we've been digging for a couple of minutes now, more than a couple of minutes. Basically, my next attempt here is going to be to knock this piece of concrete into the hole. So we'll see if I can get lucky and get it in there. Well, today was certainly successful, far greater than yesterday. That was an adventure. I think I'm a little bit low on fluid still, which is fine, but the new hose is not leaking. I was saying I'm a little bit low on fluid, I suspect, based on some noises I'm hearing, but that's nothing out of the ordinary. I'm sure the valve body is still leaking pretty good in there. But we started knocking some concrete into this hole, so we're making some progress. The machine's been handling nice, so I've got no complaints. I think once I start getting everything kind of situated, it should speed the process along. I'm going to get the chains out pretty soon and be dragging pieces across other pieces of concrete, dropping them into the hole as I go along, and hopefully that'll be that. So, well, this was the repair video. Thanks for checking it out. Of course, we'll probably break something again before this job is done, because that's the nature of the beast. Well, that's part of fun, I guess, too, right? You don't buy an old machine and expect it to work perfect every single time. It's half the battle is keeping it working. So sense of pride there too. But right on, folks. I'll see you next round. Thanks again.